Hey guys, what's up? So a life update. This past Friday weekend was a little rough. Thursday night at like 3:30, me and my roommate went out to go smoke a cigarette and let Blake out to go potty. And we were talking, and she's running around the yard doing her thing, and I realized I haven't heard her tags in a minute. And so I go back there looking for her, and she ran off. Yeah, I'm talking about you. And so I start looking for her, and it's balls-ass cold outside. It was one of the first nights it got real cold here. And I look for her for like 2.5 hours, and can't fucking find her. And so I figure, she's a smart little girl. She'll come home. So I lay down on the couch in the living room, figuring when she comes home, she'll, whine and scratch at the door. And so I come in and I sit down, and I go back out and look for her a couple times, and still can't find her. I'm laying there about 7 o'clock in the morning, maybe a little earlier. I can't sleep, and so I go outside to smoke a cigarette, and she is curled up on my porch, damn near unresponsive. No, you can't lick that. I'm sorry. She's like, her eyes are open, and I'm calling to her, and there's not much response, and so I freak out and, check her. She's breathing, she's got a heartbeat, she's slightly hypothermic. So I got her inside and, wrapped her up in blankets and put one in the dryer to wrap around her. And then I turn the light on and realize she's a mess. Her whole lip over here was like swollen up bigger than a golf ball. Her whole stomach was bloody. Under her arm here was bloody. And so I unwrap her, and she's got a black line diagonal across her rear end. Little one ran off and got herself hit by a car. So I called one of my friends who's a vet tech, and she's been a vet tech for years, and I was like, what do I do? And she was like, well, are there any wounds that need stitches? And I was like, no. And she's like, do you feel any broken bones? And I was like, no. And then she asked, is she walking? And Blake was not walking at all. I mean, it took everything. She took a couple steps inside and just fell to the floor. And so I picked her up and, got her warm and whatnot. And my friend was actually at work at the emergency vet. And she was like, you can bring her in, but it's going to be 2 or 3 times as expensive as it would be if, you waited a couple hours. She had me check her gums to see if she was in shock and all that. And she told me it's probably best that Blake would be fine for a couple hours until her bed opened. And so I took her in, and they scared the ever-living shit out of me. They're like, there could be a bunch of internal damage. Yes, you. Thank you. I'm like, we need to x-ray everything because there could be internal damage. No, ma'am. No. And I was like, oh, great. And, so I had to go to work. I mean, because I'm in my 90 days, I can't call in. I can't have what they call an LWOP. I would lose my job. And so they told me they would call me when they, knew something. I was like, okay. So I go to work for a couple hours and freaking out, waiting for their call. And they call me, and I'm like, well, the good news is that, we don't need to do any surgery or anything. The bad news is every single internal organ from about here back is severely bruised, but not so much that we need to, drain it or, do surgery. And I was like, okay. And then they're like, well, you can come get her. And so I go in there to come get her, and as if I haven't had a bad enough, stressful enough day. They're like, we really need to run one more x-ray. And I was like, why? They're like, well, her heart looks enlarged. And I was like, as in heartworm? They're like, yeah, we think so. And I'm like, that is so not cool. So they take another picture and they're like, well, it still looks enlarged. We're going to go ahead and run a fecal test. And so they run a fecal test and she's negative. And so they tell me, that I can take her home. And they gave me, I guess it's equivalent to doggy hydrocodone. Because when she takes it, she gets pretty goofy. But she's also got a concussion. So yeah, my weekend was spent nursing the little one back to as much health as I could in a weekend. But for the most part, she's just pretty attached to me right now. If I move, she tries to follow me. When I'm sitting down, she has to be... Yes, you. She has to be up on me. Yes. Yes, I'm talking about you. So yeah, that was... No. That was my weekend. And so... I'm going to be working obscene amounts of overtime at work to make up for the $700 vet bill. Yay. But as long as I get to come home to some sloppy kisses from the furry thing, it's okay. And I called my mom. Oh, that was another thing. I owe my mom an apology, I think. I called her and told her what was going on, and she was like, well, what are you going to do with this dog? She's costed you so much money. And I flew off the handle at her. I was like, that she is what has kept me sane through so much. Did you really just ask me to put a financial price on my dog's life? Really seriously? Except it came out a whole lot nastier than that. But anyhow, I suppose I shall catch up with y'all later. Alright.